So hello guys, welcome to a new video of politics.
Is lawless, it's destructive, it's dangerous, it's cruel, it's illegal, and it's unconstitutional. Donald Trump has done a lot of bad things in the last week, but nothing's worse than this.
Very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country. And it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Those affected by President Trump's federal funding freeze have a little longer to clear up confusion over the order. A federal judge has temporarily halted it. Earlier today, top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer sharply criticized the action.
Listen to that. A federal judge just froze Donald Trump's entire business empire, every tower, every golf course, every last dollar he claims to have. And what's his response? The same old whining about witch hunts while his lawyers scramble like rats on a sinking ship. This isn't some minor legal hiccup. This is the moment the so-called billionaire who built his entire brand on being a winner and a deal maker finally has to face reality. His empire is now under court control. He can't sell, he can't borrow, he can't even move money without a judge's permission. I've followed Trump for years, and I've never seen him this cornered.
Funding for Meals on Wheels or for school lunch programs or things like that. I mean, there's got to be a real scare among some of them. Does that have the potential to force the president, the White House, to pull back and change course?
Well, I think that they just didn't have a ton of answers about all of the programs affected. And we saw that in the first White House briefing today by Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. You know, she kept emphasizing that benefits that go directly to people like Medicare and Social Security aren't affected. But there's a ton of benefits that do flow through states like Medicaid or through nonprofits that then flow to people like Meals on Wheels. And there's just a real lack of clarity about sort of how the sweep of this federal funding freeze and you know what it actually looks like.
The man who loves to call everyone else a loser is watching his own legacy get padlocked in real time. And the best part, the very chaos he created with his funding freezes is now biting him harder than anyone else. Welcome to U.S. Focus Today. Today, we're breaking down exactly how the self-proclaimed greatest businessman alive is losing everything, and why this time even he might not be able to talk his way out of it. After more than 20 years covering presidential scandals, court battles, and financial investigations in Washington, I can tell you this: not every case against Trump is purely political theater. Some actually have teeth. Let me lay out the real mechanics here without the usual noise. New York Attorney General Letitia James built her case on something very specific: the Trump Organization's annual statements of financial condition. For years, these documents were used to secure loans and insurance deals. The court found that Trump and his team routinely inflated asset values, sometimes by hundreds of millions when it benefited them, while using much lower numbers for tax purposes. Same properties, wildly different stories depending on what suited the moment. Judge Arthur Engoron's original ruling was brutal: over $450 million in disgorgement plus interest. Trump's team struggled mightily to post a bond, approaching multiple surety companies and still coming up short at first. That's not spin. That's what happens when professional risk assessors look at the numbers and say we're not comfortable. Yes, the appellate court later threw out the massive cash penalty in 2025, calling it excessive. But here's what matters: they upheld the core finding of fraud. The court agreed there was systematic misrepresentation. That label doesn't disappear. It sticks to the brand, to the business record, and to Trump's carefully crafted image as the master deal maker. I've seen plenty of politicians survive legal storms. What makes this one different is the paper trail, internal documents, emails, and testimony showing the same pattern repeated across decades. This isn't one rogue valuation. It's how the organization operated. That's why today's hypothetical nightmare scenario, the kind of total asset freeze we're breaking down in this video, isn't pure fantasy. It's what could still happen if enforcement ramps up again while appeals continue. I'm not here to cheer for anyone's destruction, but after 2 decades in this business, I've learned one truth: when the numbers don't lie, eventually the myth starts cracking. And right now, Donald Trump is staring at one hell of a crack in the foundation he built his entire empire and his entire political brand upon. Let's see exactly how deep that crack goes.
The Trump administration is freezing $10 billion in funding for New York and 4 other states, claiming widespread fraud.
Now, the cuts target low-income families and also childcare. Dick Brennan here in studio with us with more on this. Dick?
Christina, Jessica, we can tell you the freeze comes after investigators probe welfare fraud in Minnesota, but the Trump administration provided no evidence of fraud in New York or the other states, including California, Illinois, and Colorado. Governor Hochul blasting the Trump administration for freezing nearly $10 billion in benefits for social services programs in New York and 4 other states.
Right after those clips, let me tell you what's actually happening while Trump is out there freezing everyone else's funding. A New York federal judge has just slammed the door shut on Donald Trump's entire business empire. We're not talking about 1 or 2 properties. Every major asset the Trump organization owns is now frozen solid. Trump Tower in Manhattan, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, his hotels in Washington and Chicago, the golf courses scattered across the country and even overseas. All of it is under court control. He can't sell a single brick. He can't refinance. He can't transfer anything to his kids or shell companies. Nothing moves without a judge's signature. This didn't come out of nowhere. This is the direct result of the massive fraud judgment against him. New York Attorney General Letitia James proved in court that Trump and his organization spent years systematically inflating property values to trick banks into giving him better loans and insurance companies into charging him lower premiums. Same building, 2 completely different stories. Sky-high numbers when borrowing money, rock-bottom numbers when paying taxes. The court called it exactly what it was, textbook fraud running straight from the top. The judge ordered Trump to post a bond of hundreds of millions of dollars if he wanted to stall enforcement.
This guy might be one of the craziest moments in Trump's legal history so far. We are talking about allegations that his business empire is basically being locked down while courts continue digging through fraud claims and financial records. And honestly, the biggest shock here is not just the money; it is the humiliation. Because Trump built his entire image around one thing: I am rich, I am powerful, I am the ultimate businessman. And now imagine hearing you cannot move money, you cannot sell properties, you cannot even touch your own assets without our approval, court approval. That's insane. The transcript basically explains how prosecutors claim Trump inflated property values for loans and insurance deals with losing lower numbers of taxes. Same buildings, different numbers depending on what benefit him and the creditors. According to the narrations, bonding companies reportedly did not even want to back him financially.